To preserve the dignity of a queen. Actually, to prevent potential riots or rescue attempts by Anne's supporters. The scaffold stands approximately 4 feet high, requiring Anne to climb wooden steps to reach the platform. Waiting on that platform are several witnesses required by law, members of the King's Council, including Anne's own uncle, the Duke of Norfolk, the King's illegitimate son, the Duke of Richmond, and, most significantly, Thomas Cromwell, architect of Anne's destruction, here to ensure his plan reaches completion.
I pray you
Also
do not
on the
sorrow.
scaffold,
It is for
the
my
French
soul's
executioner.
good.
He wears
I
no
cannot
mask,
help but
which is
weep,
unusual.
madam.
English executioners
The future
typically
of
wore
England
hoods
rests
to protect their
not on
identity from
past
revenge.
alliances,
But this
but on the
French
strength
swordsman is
we
anonymous
build
by
today.
nationality and distance.
I
He'll
must
return to
praise
France
the
after
king,
this single job.
for he has ever
He's
been
visibly
to me a
nervous,
gracious
which is understandable.
sovereign and a
He's
most
about to
kind
become the first
master.
person in English
I have
history
always
to
loved the
execute a
king's
queen.
grace,
The sword
and I
is hidden
pray for
beneath
his
straw on the
preservation
scaffold
and the
platform so
accomplishment
Anne
of
won't
all
see it
his
and panic.
desires.
It's a specialized execution sword, shorter than a combat sword, designed specifically for beheading. The blade weighs approximately 4 pounds with a razor-sharp edge. Anne
Be
mounts
not
the scaffold
afraid,
with
master.
assistance from Kingston.
I heard
She turns
say
to
the
her ladies, who
executioner
are
is
sobbing,
very good.
and comforts them, showing more concern for their emotional state than her own imminent death. Then she addresses the crowd. What she says next has been analyzed by historians for 5 centuries, and for good reason. Her speech is a masterpiece of coded communication under duress. Good Christian people, I am come hither to die, for according to the law and by the law I am judged to die, and therefore I will speak nothing against it.
Now.
I
God
am come
save the
hither to
king.
accuse no man, nor to speak anything of that whereof I am accused and condemned to die. But I pray God save the king, and send him long to reign over you. For a gentler nor a more merciful prince was there never, and to me he was ever a good, a gentle, and sovereign lord. And thus I take my leave of the world and of you all, and I heartily
stand
desire
accused of
you all
high
to pray
treason
for
against
me.
the crown.
O Lord, have mercy on me.
mercy.
To God I commend my soul.
Sancta Maria,
Read
ora
that
pro
carefully.
nobis.
Anne explicitly refuses to confess guilt. I will speak nothing against it, and I am come hither to accuse no man are not admissions of guilt. Their refusals to
Grace,
participate in the
welcome
false
to
narrative.
Chelsea.
She praises
Dear
Henry
girl.
because doing otherwise would doom
Bring
her daughter
light back
Elizabeth.
into my life.
If Anne dies denouncing Henry, Elizabeth becomes the daughter of a traitor who remained defiant to the end. But if Anne dies praising Henry, Elizabeth becomes the innocent daughter of a woman who acknowledged the king's mercy. Anne is sacrificing her own vindication to protect her daughter's future. After her speech, an executioner tradition follows. The swordsman approaches Anne and kneels before her, asking forgiveness for what he's about to do. This might seem like compassionate ritual, but it serves a practical purpose. It establishes that the executioner is merely an instrument of lawful
Good
authority,
Christian people,
not a
I am
murderer
come
acting
hither
on
to
personal
die.
will.
I
Anne
pray God
grants
save the king and
forgiveness,
send him long.
as expected.
I am so
She removes her headdress, and
I
one
am
of her
come hither
ladies
to
helps her
die,
tuck all her hair
and
into
I
a
commit
linen
my
cap
soul unto
so nothing
Jesus.
interferes with the blade. Anne kneels on the scaffold. She's positioned upright rather than laying her head on a block, because sword executions require the victim to be upright with the neck extended. A lady ties a blindfold over Anne's eyes. This is mercy, genuine mercy, because Anne won't see the blade coming. She begins praying aloud. Jesus, have pity on my soul. To Jesus Christ I commend my soul. Lord Jesus, receive my soul. The crowd, which has been murmuring, falls completely silent. The executioner picks up his sword. His hands are visibly shaking. This is the moment of maximum tension. In a few seconds, Anne Boleyn will either die cleanly in one stroke, or she'll experience the nightmare of a botched execution. The swordsman signals to an
Madam,
assistant, who suddenly
beg your
shouts,
forgiveness.
"Bring me the sword." This is
pray
a
you,
deliberate
take it
distraction.
and be not
Anne
afraid.
instinctively turns her head toward the sound. In that instant
A
of
testament
distraction,
to your grace,
the executioner
your majesty.
swings. The sword
Truly,
makes 2
a
complete
most
revolutions
merciful
over the
king.
executioner's head to
His
build
Majesty,
momentum.
in
Then
his
it
infinite
descends in a
wisdom
single
and
swift
mercy,
arc.
has
The
seen
blade
fit to
strikes
forgive
Anne's neck
your
at precisely the
transgressions.
correct angle, between the
Hear
4th
ye,
and 5th
hear
cervical
ye.
vertebrae.
A royal
The execution is
decree of
perfect.
mercy.
Anne's head
By the
separates from
crown's
her body
grace,
in
your
one
debts
clean
are
stroke.
cleared.
She likely felt nothing beyond a moment of pressure. Unconsciousness would have been instantaneous as the brain, suddenly deprived of blood and oxygen, ceased function within 2 seconds. But here's the detail that haunted eyewitnesses. Anne's lips continued moving for several seconds
I
after
trust our friend
decapitation.
appreciates this
This
display
isn't
of royal
supernatural.
mercy.
It's
It would be a shame
neurological.
to repeat it.
The brain
He
contains
understands
enough
completely.
residual oxygen for
By the grace
approximately
of the
10
court,
to 15
the
seconds
condemned
of
shall
basic
receive the
activity
swift mercy
after
of the
blood
axe.
flow stops.
A clean
Muscle memory
strike to
continues.
cleanse the soul.
Anne's lips were
By royal
forming words
decree,
of
the
prayer
prisoner
when
is
the blade
granted the
struck,
mercy of a
and those
swift
neural
and clean
patterns
beheading.
continued briefly
May his soul
afterward.
find peace
Observers
in the
interpreted
afterlife.
this as Anne's soul departing, still praying. Science explains it differently, but the horror remains the same. Anne's head falls to the straw-covered platform, blood pouring from severed arteries. Her body, still kneeling, remains upright for a moment before collapsing. One of her ladies, braver than the others, immediately picks up Anne's head and wraps it in a white linen cloth, blood soaking through instantly. The other three ladies, refusing to let any man touch their mistress, lift Anne's body. They carry her away from the scaffold, struggling with the dead weight while weeping. Within minutes, cannon fire erupts from the tower, the prearranged signal that
swift
Anne
cut,
Boleyn is
Bessie.
dead. The sound
will be
reverberates across
cleaner.
London, announcing to the entire city that England's queen has been executed. At Whitehall Palace, King Henry VIII hears the cannons. He immediately boards his royal barge and travels upriver to Chelsea, where Jane Seymour is waiting. He wastes no time in mourning or even acknowledging
It's all right, my
Anne's
lady.
death.
You
His
are
focus
safe
is already
now.
on the next
It was
marriage,
just a dream.
the next chance for a male heir. At the tower, Anne's body is carried to the chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula. But there's a problem. Nobody prepared a coffin. Anne was Queen of England, but she's being buried like a criminal. Her ladies find an old arrow chest in the tower's weapon storage and use that instead. Arrow chests are long and narrow, designed to store arrows laid end to end. Anne's body fits because she
I
was
am
notably
lost.
slender, but
There,
it's a
there, sweet
grotesquely
mistress.
undignified receptacle for a queen. Was this incompetence or deliberate insult? Some historians argue there simply wasn't time to prepare a proper coffin given the rushed execution schedule. But Sir William Kingston was a competent administrator who'd overseen countless tower operations. Is it possible he genuinely didn't believe Henry would execute Anne until it actually happened? That he assumed, right up until the scaffold was built, that the king would relent? If so, Kingston's failure to prepare a coffin becomes evidence that even those closest to the situation found Anne's execution unthinkable. Anne is stripped of her jewelry and blood-soaked clothing before burial. Her possessions, including expensive garments and jewels, are confiscated
I
by the
regret to
crown.
inform you, madam.
Incredibly,
Your final
Henry VIII
appeal
will
has been
pass
rejected.
Anne's jewelry to Jane Seymour, his next wife. Imagine wearing a dead woman's jewelry stripped from her corpse after her husband had
Oh,
her
Father,
executed. That's the
spare me
level of
this
callousness
fate.
we're discussing.
Have mercy
Anne
on
is
us,
buried
sweet
in the
Jesus.
chancel of the
Deliver
chapel
us
of
from
Street.
evil.
Peter ad Vincula, next to her brother George, who was executed 3 days earlier on trumped-up charges of incest with Anne. After Anne's execution, Henry and Thomas Cromwell systematically attempt to erase her from history. Her portraits are destroyed. Her letters are burned. Her initials and emblems that once decorated Hampton Court and other royal palaces are removed and replaced with Jane Seymour's. It's a deliberate program of damnatio memoriae, the Roman practice of condemning someone's memory by destroying all records of their existence. But they can't erase everything. Most importantly, they can't erase Anne's daughter. Elizabeth survives her mother's execution, technically a bastard with no claim to the throne, raised away from court by various guardians. Nobody expects her to ever become queen. Henry will have a son with Jane Seymour, Edward VI, who will inherit the throne. Elizabeth is forgotten, dismissed, irrelevant. Except history had other plans. 22 years after Anne Boleyn's execution, against every odd,
Your Majesty,
against
you must
every
consider the
expectation,
gravity of the situation.
Elizabeth
The
ascends
king's
to the
patience
throne as
wears
Elizabeth
thin.
I.
I understand the
She
risks,
rules
Thomas,
for 44
but my
years,
conscience is clear
becoming
before God.
arguably
I am
England's
innocent
greatest
of these
monarch.
charges,
The daughter
Thomas.
they tried to
Before
erase
God,
became
I
the queen
swear
who
it.
defined an era.
You must tell
Anne
the
Boleyn's
king.
greatest legacy wasn't her brief time
Earth
as
to
queen.
earth,
It was
ashes to
Elizabeth,
ashes,
the
dust
daughter
to
whose
dust,
existence Henry
and sure
tried to
and certain hope of
delegitimize,
the
who
resurrection
vindicated
unto eternal
everything
life.
Anne fought for. At Chequers, the Prime Minister's country home, there's a ring that once belonged to Elizabeth. Open the locket, and you see two portraits, Anne and Elizabeth facing each other. Elizabeth kept her mother's memory alive when everyone else tried to bury it. That's the real ending of Anne Boleyn's story. Not the scaffold, not the arrow chest, but a daughter who became a legend. This is Flow of History, where we dig into the moments that shaped everything. If this story of power, betrayal, and ultimate vindication shocked you, we've got hundreds more episodes revealing the brutal truths behind history's biggest names. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell, because the next story we're uncovering will blow your mind even more than this one. The past isn't what they taught you in school. Let's find out what really happened.